Hi guys and welcome. I am in the shed. I have just done a brew. I've literally finished. I've just cleaned up. It's over in the fermenter over there. I didn't do any video for that one because it's just a very simple pale ale. I've done most of the times before. It's actually been done for a camping trip we're going to go away on. So the dad's there said, oh, would you do a home brew, would you do a keg of beer for it? So I'm going to do that, keg that up, and hopefully in a couple of weeks that'll be ready. But this, it's not about that. This is about the New England IPA that I brewed, well, a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's 3 weeks now. And I've got some brew footage to show you that I recorded on the day. It goes on for about 15-16 minutes worth of brew footage. Might be useful to some people. Let's get on with that. I'll show you the footage, then we'll come back, have a quick chat with you, and I'll show you the results. Welcome to the shed, guys. Yes, this is me in front of the camera at last. I almost forgot to turn on the camera actually. So there you go, that's how long it's been. Anyway, back in the shed, making another beer. Just about to come up to strike temperature in here. I've got 30 litres of water in there, which I'm going to transfer into, well, 20 litres of it is going to transfer into the, what do you call it, the mash tun. So yeah, that's been so long I've been, can't remember names. What am I brewing today? I'm brewing a New England IPA. I love these beers. I've done them quite a few times. It's been a while since I've done the last one. This apparently, according to Brewfather, is version 15 of New England IPAs that I've done. So yeah, so I should be used to doing them. Still not really, but there you go. The last couple that I've done weren't quite so impressive. I was a little bit disappointed, particularly the last one. So fingers crossed for this one. It's a little bit of a use-up brew in the hops, which I'll come to in a minute. I kind of wanted to plan the next 3 brews. I wanted to do a NEIPA. I have had loads of hops for ages, like juicy hops. They've been sitting in the freezer, so it should be alright. So we'll see when it comes to the tasting, obviously. So what's in it? New England IPA. We're shooting for 7%. In the mash tun, I've got 4.5 kilos of pale malt, a Golden Promise, 820 grams of wheat, that's pale wheat, 550 grams of carapils, 430 grams of golden naked oats, and 260 grams of Colorado honey malt. So altogether about 6.5 kilos of grain, so there's quite a lot of grain in there. There's quite a lot of water going to go in. I am actually down here. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm going to chuck in some rice hulls, only a couple of handfuls, because there's a bit of wheat in there. So let me chuck a bit of this in, stir it in. That'll do. Yeah, just some rice hulls in there, just so, because the wheat, just to make sure you don't get stuck sparge. Right, so there you go. Bit of changing on the fly there. So, a bit of paper there. Right, so that's the grain build. Then no boil hops until you get to the whirlpool. So I'll just let it ride for an hour. Once it gets to the boil, let it ride for an hour, and then hops I've got in the whirlpool, chill down to 80, top haul for 20 minutes. I've got 73 grams of Strata, 67 grams of Idaho 7, and 40 grams of Citra, but the Citra is the Lupamax Citra, so it's more like about 60 grams. That's about 200 grams of whirlpool hops, quite a lot obviously. Then in the dry hop, so then we'll put it into the fermenter obviously. I've got a starter that I made of London Fog, which I'm going to pitch into the wort once it's chilled down and let that go. Then dry hop, I'll let it ferment down so it stops fermentation. Then I'll add the dry hop, which is 100 grams of Equinox, 100 grams of Sabro, 40 grams of Citra, but again it's the Lupamax Citra. And then I've got 60 grams of Amarillo. So what's that? 260, so 300 grams in total. It's more like about 320 or so if you count the Lupamax ones. So not bad. About just over 500 grams in total of hops going into this grain bill, into this beer rather. So as I say, I'm now up to strike temp, so I'm going to transfer into the mash tun. Oh, fucking hell, I'm going to get these names right in a minute. Transfer into the mash tun, and then we'll leave it done. So off we go to do that. So nice. Right, we're sitting at 66 there now, so that's quality. I went and got this from the house, which I just cleaned. Sometimes when I have some of the bigger mashes, because it's about 6.5 kilos, a fairly largish one, I use that to begin with. It helps sort of like really get in there. I mean, if you're doing an imperial stout, this is fantastic. Smash it up with that first of all. That tends to get some of the bigger dough balls if you were doing that. Then I use this one. It's really good at finding the, searching out the smaller dough balls that are lurking around in there. So both of them used. And as well, some of the people who might know the my setup that I've got might notice something that's slightly different. I'm switching the pumps on and off manually. That's because I usually use the craft beer pie system to do it. I can do it on the phone or the touch screen or things like that. It's gone. Computer said no a couple of brews ago, so I need to take it apart and look at it and get it up and running again. But at the moment it's all hands on deck and a bit of manual sort of interaction. So all happy, all done, all tucked up, sitting at 66.4 in there apparently. I'm going to leave that for half an hour. Hey Siri, set timer 30 minutes, and then hopefully come back.
Counting down.
Come back in half an hour or so. Make sure it's still at 66. If it's not, I might put in a little bit of hot water in there or something. Then it's over to recirculating, but I'll come back when I'm doing that later. See you later, bye. So the wort's been sitting there happily at 66, it's nearly 67 actually, for just over half an hour now. And I'm now going to set it all up to start recirculating, but again trying to keep it at 66 for the next 25 minutes, half an hour or so, and then I'll start ramping it up to 77, at which point I'll start to sparge. So just connect up the hoses. Crash. Right, so what I do is recirculate around. I had to put the actual lock line thing in the top there that I have, which is the thing that I sparge with, and just every once in a while I just take the thermometer, plump it underneath, because normally I've got a thermometer that measures it through a T-joint here, but with the craft beer pie not working, it's a little bit more hands-on at the moment, which is not a problem, but yeah, just every once in a while, just come in here, make sure that this is coming through at about 66. It's about 67 at the moment, so just leave that to recirculate a while. So I won't turn the heater on, I won't turn that boiler on, see if it, just let it run for a bit longer, and yeah, happy days. We're chugging along. I'll be back in a minute. So that's the recirculating done. I've got it up the wort up to about 77. So now I'm going to, I've changed over, you can see the hoses are now coming out of the, what is the sparge boiler, going round into the pump, coming out, and we'll come out here eventually and we'll be able to start sparging. But first, I start to collect the first bit of wort. Should be beautiful and clear because it's, you know, it's been recirculated for a while. So I really slowly have the pump, the tap on the pump turned right down, so it collects really slowly. What I'll do is I'll show you a bit of video inside here what it looks like. If we can get to yeah, video. There you go, coming out nice and slow there at the bottom, and just slowly collect that up out of there. So keep an eye on this, where the levels come to, and then once it gets a bit low, I'll start to sparge. So here we go, here's the sparge. So I'm trying to keep that level just below, you can see the level of the water is about on the 6 gallon mark there. So kind of keeping this water coming in really slowly through here, it doesn't go much higher than that 6, and at the same time sort of keeping an eye on this. This is going up really slowly, so collecting the wort through the bottom of the mash tun. So, and then also just making sure that this, using this, just keep an eye, using that, I'll show you, just keep an eye on the temperature of the water coming through. Should be, I'll get it on there, so keeping that, make sure that's around about sort of 77-ish. So it's slightly high at the moment, but not too bad. So happy with that. Keep an eye on that. This is the real bit that needs to be kept an eye on. Keep an eye on that, make sure this is continually going up, and yeah. So that's my sparging. So all of the wort's been collected. I've got 29 litres in the boiler, so I'm starting to do the boil now. I've taken the gravity of the pre-boil wort, and it's slightly lower than what I was hoping for. The recipe said it should have been at 1059. I know, at 1054, so I'm 5 points down compared to what I wanted to be, but it's a 7% beer, so I'm not too worried about that. Partly worried maybe my efficiency's off a bit with this one, but let's see where we end up. I sometimes make up the points after the end of the boil, and don't forget there is, and I don't think I said this, going to be 500 grams of maltodextrin going into this. With 15 minutes to go in the boil, so yeah, so there's plenty of opportunity to catch up with the gravity points. So it's pretty easy now. I don't really have to do much till that has to go in. I'm gonna wait for this to come to the boil, then I'll chuck in the maltodextrin with 15 minutes to go. There's going to be some yeast nutrient going in, 10 minutes to go, and then it's chilling it down for the whirlpool. So probably won't be back until that point. I might show you putting in a maltodextrin and show you how I do that, because it's a bit I do with a whisk it up a bit beforehand. So cool, I'll see you back then. So I've just chilled down, the boil's over. I've had the chiller in, I've chilled down to 80. It's slightly high, it's 81 at the moment, but that's fine. It's sort of like slowly chilling down a little bit more. And yeah, the hops are in. I'll set a timer. Hey Siri, set timer 20 minutes.
20 minutes, counting down.
So 20 minutes, I've got the whirlpool, so I'm coming out, going into the top pump and going back in, and it whirlpools. Let me show you that. Show you that on camera. So there's the whirlpool working, so there's the inlet. You can see it sort of whirlpools around quite nicely. The hops are in that bag there. I'll weigh that bag down with a load of marbles at the bottom and stick the hops in. And yeah, we sort of whirlpool around for 20 minutes. So you can see they're slightly high, but not bad at all. Happy with that. Chucking it down outside. We'll remember there later doing a barbecue. Never mind. Cool. Right. You can see me. I can see you. You can see all the booze behind you there. And I'll be back later. So done. I'm now cleaning up. You can see behind me. So we've got the. Oh, I've got to get the thing on first. We'll get the glass tube on. You can see behind me. It's in the fermenter. I'm cleaning up now. Here is the end product. Nice and hazy, exactly what you want to see. I wanted to get 10. It was meant to be 1072. It's ended up at 1070. So a couple of points low. Doesn't really matter. Let's hope the yeast just does its thing, and with final gravity 1019 expected, so which will give me 7%. If it's 6.5%, I don't mind. It's good, all good. Happy with it. All went well. No real catastrophes or anything like that, and yeah, pleased with the results so far. Let's find out how it ends up at the end after the fermentation. I'll let you know in a tasting video. Cheers guys, see you later, bye. Right, so obviously I decided not to do a separate tasting video. As it happened, I didn't put that video up, hell bloody surprise. And so I've just decided to do a grain to glass instead. One thing that I didn't tell you about in the video, I said I was going to, but I didn't show you, was the method that I have for adding malted dextrin. So I'll quickly go through that with you now in case anyone wants to know, because it's something that's just a little bit maybe sort of out of the ordinary that I do, that helps the brew, I think, and I just thought I'd share it with you in case you want to know how I do that. So I've just got to go to the house and get something back to say. What I do, there was in that recipe, I think I said in the brew footage, there's 500 grams of maltodextrin in there. Got a big old bag of maltodextrin that I use. Obviously, you know, this lasts for quite a while. I sort of divide it up as and when I use it. And what I tend to do when I'm using them is I weigh out what I want into these. So these just are the normal sort of like, you know, takeaway pots. They usually can carry about 250 grams of maltodextrin pretty much full in one of these. So what I do, 500 grams in the recipe, so I have 2 of these full up with maltodextrin waiting to be used. Then when it comes to the time of using them, 15 minutes before the end of the boil, usually something like that, what I'll do is I'll take one of these jugs that I've got, put the maltodextrin, literally pour it all out there into there, so you get like a load of maltodextrin at the bottom. Pull off from the tap, put off a little bit of wort into there, so you'll get up, I don't know, sort of about a litre, or maybe a little bit more, 1.5 litres maybe, of wort into here, and then whisk like mad. So literally have it in here, whisk around. So this is just like a balloon whisk that I just use. Absolutely whisk it up as much as I can. Try and get all that maltodextrin dissolved inside this jug. And then after using that, sorry, some frozen stuff everywhere. After using that, pour that into back into the wort. Now I have in the past had them in here, poured it straight in and tried stirring it. What I find that happens whenever I do that is that maltodextrin just drops straight to the bottom. If you don't get it and mix it up as quickly as you can, it just drops to the bottom. The bottom of these boilers, similar to like a grain father and a lot of the all-in-one systems, there's like a hot plate at the bottom. And if that drops to the bottom, all it does is it just gets on the hot plate, scorches it up like hell, and doesn't really get into the brew, so it's all a bit pointless. So doing it this way I found is a much more effective way. You don't mess up your hot plate, and obviously it's getting into the brew, which is the whole point of it. So yeah, so clicked up 2 of these, well, sorry, 2 of these, pour it into the jug, whisk it in the jug to get it all mixed in as much as you can so you've got no lumps or anything in there, and then pour it in. Sometimes that takes about 5 minutes to do, so you might want to just plan for that. If you want it to be in there with 10 minutes to go, maybe start at about 15 minutes to go, just so you can get it in there in time and it's in the brew long enough. So, without any further ado, I'm going to pour the end result, our NEIPA. So I've got it in the keg over here. You'll probably think you can't see it there, but I'm just going to go and pour a glass. Right, there we go. So, that is the end product. It looks the absolute part, it really does. I'm really, really pleased in the appearance of how this has come out. It's exactly what I want, so it's a lovely, just completely thick. It's the, you know, you go for the orange juice or the grapefruit juice look. It's got exactly that. I didn't use Protafloc when I did this. I thought I'll give it a try and leave it. I did Google that, and a few people said no, when they're doing NEIPAs they don't bother with Protafloc because you don't want it to clear up and stuff. Other people said they did. So I was like, oh, I'll just leave it out and see what happens. But everything, excuse me, everything just seems to have come together on this one, and the appearance of it is absolutely beautiful. Smell, can't get much of that at the moment, wait a minute. Yeah, so the smell is apricot, peach, sort of real sort of stone fruits. There's not much citrusy. I mean, maybe a tiny little bit of lemon or something in there. Grapefruit, everyone says grapefruit, don't they? But maybe a little bit of grapefruit. But yeah, perhaps a little bit of grapefruit with giving a little bit of sort of bitterness in there. But generally speaking, I get sort of stone fruit, more of the stone fruity sort of peach and apricot and that kind of thing. Really, really delicious. Really want to go in there. Now, there was a problem with me fermenting this beer, and it was a complete cock up on my part. You can see over there I've got the Grainfather conical fermenters, and I've also down below I've got the glycol chiller. But in the past I've got 2 lots of the hoses, so I've got 2 fermenters, so I can brew 2 beers and have them fermenting at the same time. But from the glycol chiller I'd only ever connected the hoses up to one of the outputs. I had another set of hoses to use, but I'd never connected them up. They were connected up to the lager that I was making at the time, so the lager was down at about sort of 12 degrees, something like that, so it needed to be kept cool. So I had the connectors on to that one. This one, when I did it, I didn't have the connectors on. And in the first day of fermentation, I put it at about 18 degrees. On the Monday when I went to work, that was on the Sunday when I brewed it, the Monday I went to work, I was sort of looking at it, it had gone off like a rocket, really shot down. So it was 1072, I think I said, got right down to sort of 1040-ish, really, really quickly, and then just stopped, plateaued. But I noticed that the temperature just kept rising and rising and rising. All going out, we got up to about 24 degrees. There was nothing I could do about it, I was at work. The system, the Grainfather system, said it was trying to cool it, but it was doing nothing, and that because it didn't have the connector set up. So when I got home, I was like, right, okay, I'll get home and I'll have a look at it. Obviously I thought, right, I'll set up the Grainfather to, I'll put in more glycol. So that's one of the reasons that I hadn't connected the second up, is because they said if you've got 2 on the go at once, you have to top up the glycol. So I topped up the glycol in exactly the way it told me to do it. So you have to dilute it down with water and put it in. Did all of that. Connected everything up. But something else that I noticed, you might not be able to see, but over there you can see, obviously I'll show you on this one here, when you have the Grainfather, you have these clips here. So when you put the top on, you clip it on. I hadn't done that. So the top was on, the blow-off tube was on, but it hadn't been clipped down. So that could have contributed to the problems that I was having. Connected it all up, let it ferment down for a while. It didn't get really set off very much, so what I did was I poured in a little bit of US-05 to try and help it on its way. I got to about, I think it was about 1025 in the end, so it should have been 1019. I got for 1025, 1026 I think it finished at. So it's a 6% beer, not a 7% beer. But that said, it's delicious. It really is fantastic. I'm really pleased with it. If I brewed it again, I'd do it exactly the same way. So again, in the video I refer to the number of hops that were in it, so I don't know what's causing the flavour in here and all that sort of thing. It's not one thing or the other. So what I'll do in future is follow this exact recipe but with different hops. Process everything exactly the same, except I'll put the top on the fermenter next time. Follow everything exactly the same. It's turned out fantastic. A really, really, really delicious beer. It's not cloying. Sometimes they can be over the top when they're really fruity. This is actually quite subtle. It's not sticky. It doesn't, like, you know, coat your mouth with stickiness. I think that's the maltodextrin. If you put in lactose, obviously you get a lot of sweetness come into it. Maltodextrin doesn't get that, but sometimes can still give you that kind of sticky kind of almost not fruit juice, but like a oh, I can't think of the word now. It's sort of like a, you know, a synthetic fruit juice type of thing. This just doesn't have that at all. It's relatively, it's not sticky, relatively dry in that sort of respect. It's not dry in the taste, but it's not sticky and cloying, basically. Very drinkable, very smashable. I could go back for a few of these. Some of the previous NEIPAs that I've had, you'd have one and you'd be like, no, I don't really want another one. This one, it's actually, you could go back and sort of drink more and more of it, sort of thing. It's great. It might be partly to do with the ABV of it. So maybe that's a good thing. We'll end up with 6% rather than 7% that I was going for. But I think I'll try, next time I do it, I'll try and push it to 7%. Will I brew loads and loads of these? No, probably not. I don't think so. I think I want to experiment with other things. The lager that I've got on is very nice. I'm getting really good at porters now. Both of those on that I've got on is great. I still like my pale ales that I do. I like something a bit more sessionable. So the pale ale today should end up about 4.5, 4.7%, something like that. So yeah, but great beer, fantastic result. Really happy with it. You know, if you got any questions, you know, if you want to try and brew one of these yourself, I mean, that if I was trying to go for a NEIPA, that's exactly what I wanted to go for. So, you know, I hope I'll be able to do it again, and I'll follow this exact process that I've done today. Or today, for 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Thanks very much, guys. Say any questions, put them down below. I'll happily answer them. Please subscribe. I'll try and put more footage up onto the channel as I start like doing more stuff. It's just the editing I just don't get around to. I video pretty much every time I brew, apart from today I didn't, but I do most brews. It's just getting around to the editing and stuff. So cheers guys, thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.